some guitar tracks to go along with the drum track and the original here. So I'll just let you have a listen here. I've got the drum track pulled in. I've laid down a couple of guitar tracks, the rhythm, and then the lead section. And then right here we have the actual audio that we're using, the original. So I'll let you listen to the whole thing first, and I'll show you my process. As you can hear, it lines up perfectly with this. So now I'll solo out the tracks that I'm doing along with the drum track. And I use the usual way of doing a bunch of takes. And as you can see here, you have a number of takes that I have. And then you can compose together the best sounding track. And in the case of this solo track here, I was able to get it on the first go, which is great. These rhythm tracks, it took me a little bit of time, but I was able to piece together a half decent track that I'm happy with. And then it's just a matter of copying and pasting the repetitive parts in. And it's just like a looper pedal. So once you get the first section that you like, you can just copy and paste it all in. What I'd like to try and do is if I can get 3 or 4 compilations that I'm happy with, I'll sort of alternate through. So they'll be slightly different, timing just slightly, the tone might be just a touch different. That gives a little bit of variety, so it's not the same thing over and over again. So the next step after this will be working on the vocals, but I just wanted to show you how I work on the tracks here. So once I save the tracks, up here I keep the tracks that I'm working with that I'm happy with, but then I also take copies of these and I pull them and I drop them down here. The reason I do that is just in case I want to come back to look at something and change it or maybe revisit it. As you can see down here, I've got this copy here. But as you start playing along, it's almost just as easy just to play it again. So, but I just do that as an extra precaution, just in case I make a mistake and I want to pull it back up again. So I always keep the tracks that I want to use up here. I keep the actual reference track nice and close so I can mute it out or solo it as I need to. And at some point here, I'm getting very close to where I won't need this reference track anymore. And then I'll continue on from there. So I'll just let you have a listen to the solo section. Over here. As you can see, I've got this in here. Again, I've got a few takes. I also use the Boss GT1 for my tones, and what I'll do is I'll drop the tone packs that I use that I've created in the comments below, so you're welcome to use them and download them and check them out. So I'll just keep working away at this. Come over here. This song gets a little bit goes into the chorus, so it gets a little bit louder, so you can hear it. As you can see, it's coming together nicely. Just working away, and then this is the chorus section where it gets quite loud. As you can see, that's coming along. So I'll just continue working on this till I get to the end. I'll work on the solo. So I'm going to pause the video, work on the solo, and then we'll continue on with that. And then how we get the finished product. And usually what I try to do is get all of the guitar tracks down, or enough of the guitar track down for the whole song. And then that gives me a good guide for doing the vocals. And then I can get the vocals in. And then at that point, if there's enough to work on, that's where I'll package it out to a WAV file with the different with and without the drum tracks and the metronome, and send it off to the rest of the guys and let them start playing around with it. And then in the meantime, I'll start adding in the extra little pieces in here. Now, the important thing to remember, just when you're collaborating, is whatever, you have to make a commitment at this point before you send it off to the rest of the band. So I'd like to try and get it completely done to the end of the song, so I'm happy with it. And then you can't really change the length or do anything extra, because obviously the rest of the band is using this as your reference. So if you decide, oh, I want to add an extra couple of bars for a solo, you can't obviously do that in the middle, because then you'd have to redo the drums and the bass and everything else that goes along. So you want to make sure you're totally happy with sort of the complete song, bare bones, with the guitars and the drum track, and make sure you're happy with that. And then once you're committed to that, you can send it off, and then you can add extra stuff in between. So I've made that mistake before where I wanted to add something extra in, and then we had to redo the whole thing. So just keep that in mind as you're doing it, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to go and work on the solo now, and then the next video we'll look at, or the next section, we'll look at the solo, and I'll show you the completed song, and then I'll work on the vocals, and then we'll go from there. All right, talk to you soon. Okay, so now I've laid down the vocal tracks, as you can see here, vocal main, and I've got a harmony vocals in here. And I've finished the complete song, and I'm going right up to the end. I'm going to stop it at 95 here. And as I was talking about earlier, I can't change the length of this, either increasing it or decreasing it if we're using this as the reference. So I have to make a commitment at this point and say, this is it, this is the song. If we do add in an extra bar or two, then it pushes everything out. Then we'll obviously have to do the bass and drum tracks again, which we want to try to avoid. So at this point, this is the critical point for me where I kind of make sure I'm happy with it and it's okay for the length. And then I say I'm good to go. Now, we could still add in layers. So we can still add lots of other stuff in here. I still need to put some strings in here. I might do a little more vocal harmonies. I might add a little more embellishment on the guitar solos, that type of thing, as long as it doesn't change the length and the structure of the song. The other good thing about this is I've got everything okay the way I like it. I've got the solo right in here. I'm okay with the solo. I might redo that later, and I can actually work on that right now while the drummer and the bass player are working on their stuff. As long as I stay within this confine here, I could just replace it. If I want to add to it, I can do that also. So this is the critical part. Just make sure you're okay with the length. So I'll just let you have a quick listen to this, and you can get an idea of what it sounds like. This is with everything, the metronome on and the Logic Pro drum track, just for reference. I'll just play it up to the first verse here.
It's the reason for my pain in a season to celebrate. I don't wanna.
So as you can see, I got the vocals in, and at this point also, as I mentioned earlier, I no longer need the reference track. I've got enough in here to be able to build on it. You have to be careful with this reference track. If you get any kind of headphone bleed on your microphone when you're recording the vocals, you will actually pick up some of the original songs. So you have to be careful about that. So at some point when you get enough in here, you can just turn off the reference track. I still keep it here just for till the last minute when I finally do the final composition, just as referencing. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this so far. So the next step is to take this and bounce it into a WAV file so I can put it up on our shared drive. So the way I can do this is I'll reduce the size here, take the highlight section, and I already figured I'd go up to about 95 or 97. So you want to make sure you're past all here. You can adjust all this later. So it's better to go a little bit past so it doesn't cut anything off. So actually, a little bit here. So I'll take it over to about there. So we're good now, and we've got all of the original tracks, the drum track, and metronome enabled, and the reference track turned off. As I said before, I got all my extra tracks down here. They're all muted, so it's just the main song here. So you highlight it up here, then you go up to Logic Pro file, sorry, and we go bounce, and we want to go bounce project or section. And then the settings that I use, if we go MP3, that's okay for referencing, that's fine, but I like to just go WAV, it's a bit better quality. It's a little larger size for the disk space, but you get a really good quality. So it's PCM here, format WAV, 24-bit, 44100, interleave, we'll just leave everything the way it is as you see here. We just click OK. And then I've got a folder here, why I'm here. So we go why I'm here, and I'll do what I call this title reference. And I just bounce it. And then it will take a few minutes. Okay, so I finished bouncing the full reference up to our shared drive. So as I mentioned before, I usually do a couple of different versions. So the next version, I'll keep everything the way it is. I'll just mute the drum track, and I'll mute the metronome, and then I'll just bounce this again. And then that's usually all I need to do for now. And then I'll talk to the drummer and the bass player, and I'll see if they need one with the metronome or not, and then we just go from there. Basically, that's it, and then I'll work away at adding in the extra layers. I might redo a little bit of the vocals and mess around with this as the other guys are working on their parts. And then once I get their parts in, the next video we'll talk about how we bring in their tracks, and then I'll show you sort of my method on how I mix the whole song. I've got a couple of templates that I use, and I've got a couple of different ways of doing it. I'll put it all together and mix it, and then I'll show you my process on mastering the track and getting a final product. So until the next video, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That helps me out a lot, and share, which is awesome. Thanks, and talk to you soon.